Galactic Standard Date. Year 11356. Day 96. Sol Standard Date. 4th of the 8th, 3267. Sylvan burst out of the rift he had made in a fiery blaze of rage and hatred, just in time to see a bright flash near the third world from the sun. He flew as fast as he could to the sight of the flash. As he neared, he could make out the shapes of 3 massive Azarians in orbit. The moon had been cratered on the far side and was currently heading towards the planet. Sylvan took in the side before him as he flew in and started thinking of a way to fix the situation. Come on, Sylvan. God gave you literal god powers. What can I do? What would Lord Basilisk do? Kill all the assassins in orbit, and then figure something out from there. He smiled to himself as he affirmed his need to immediately smite the Azarians from the face of the universe. He got close enough that the 2 warlords and priests noticed his presence coming towards them. They slowly turned their massive bodies away from the world they orbited and aligned themselves with the incoming energy signature. The priest began forming a simple attack spell to test the incoming kitty. The priest formed a bolt of pure veil energy that would track Sylvan's tiny frame no matter how he tried to dodge. It had weak firepower, but it was good for testing the waters. The priest fired the pale green bolt, and it streaked through the inky black void as it moved to strike Sylvan down. Sylvan lazily watched as a small bolt of energy started zipping towards him. He scoffed at the attack and moved slightly out of the way, where he focused on the priest and charged his own attack. He condensed energy into his claws until his arm felt heavy, the black and green wisps of energy encircling his right hand and forearm. Once he was satisfied with the weight of the attack, he put all of his strength into arresting his momentum and using it to dash towards the priest as hard as he could. The energy that had been condensed into his claws seemed to walk space as they were flung towards the target. The 5 bright green slashes warped space like a black hole as they streaked across the void. Green light enveloped his vision from the side and he instinctively dodged to the side. The bolt of energy he had dodged earlier came back and grazed his fur. He could feel the heat radiating off of it as it passed him by. His eyes locked onto the errant bolt as he watched as it turned around and came right back to him again. He growled and shot a fireball at it that detonated the bolt. He turned back to the Azarians and the warlords had already begun to move towards him. He noticed a bunch of small green specks surrounding the priest as well. He tried to find out if his slash had been effective, but they had either dodged or blocked it already. His eye twitched as he realized that he had just been played. He snarled as he stared the warlords down and condensed energy into both sets of claws. He dashed forward into the first warlord. The warlord tried to stab him with his massive barbed tentacles, but Sylvan's tiny body was too small and fast. He nimbly dodged and weaved through the web of tentacles as he slammed into the warlord's face, claws first. Dodge this one, bitch! He let loose the energy at the moment of contact. His veil power slash managed to cut deep into the Azarian's head, but couldn't penetrate the skull. Sylvan jumped into one of the fissures created by his slash, and this time condensed the veil into a single point. He landed on the marred surface of the warlord's skull and reeled back to stab the skull. The spear point of veil energies managed to burrow into the skull by a meter or so, but he still hadn't gotten all the way through. The warlord wasn't going to just sit there and let him pierce his brain, so he started tearing apart the flesh that the cat had jumped into. Sylvan started condensing another jab before he was grabbed and ripped away from the warlord's skull. Sylvan roared out in rage, and an inferno started raging around him, scorching the Azarian's tentacle. The warlord screeched in pain, but managed to hold on to the ball of fire that was Sylvan. The other warlord swung his tentacles at Sylvan, while he was being held down. Sylvan watched in what felt like slow motion, as a massive trunk of flesh suddenly closed in above him. A calm overtook his rage-filled heart, and in a brief moment of serenity smiled. They think that they can break this body that God granted me. How adorable. He formed a shield behind him, so that he couldn't be flung away, and formed a blade shaped like his old traditional Admiral saber. He held the blade out horizontally and waited. The tentacle smashed into the blade, but it wasn't enough to cut all the way through the tentacle. The fleshy appendage smacked into it with enough energy to fold a Terran cruiser. The shield behind Sylvan shattered, and the warlord let go. The force of the hit sent Sylvan flying through the void in a daze. He tried to right himself and figure out where the enemies were, but his whole body was pounding with pain. His one-sided slaughter of the immature Azarians had lulled him into complacency, and he was not prepared for a fight with warlords. He coughed up some blood, and focused on arresting his momentum as he spun through space. He tried to stop himself by shunting energy in a direction that countered the way he felt like he was spinning, and managed to slow to a stop. He looked back towards the warlords, but he couldn't see anything past the hail of green energy bolts that were heading towards him. Shit! I fucked up! Fuck, this hurts! Aha! He let out a scream of rage as he unleashed a fan of flames towards the incoming bolts of energy. His attack managed to take out a chunk of the bolts, but there were at least 100 more. His eyes widened, and in a panic, he dashed backward to create some distance. He had dodged right into the waiting tentacles of the warlord he had cut into. He belatedly realized, power is useless if I don't utilize it well. No matter how strong God makes me, I will die if I don't do something. He took a deep breath. Behind him was a hungry maw that could eat a city in one bite. In front of him was a wall of energy bolts that were locked onto him. He gasped as he realized the path of victory. He needed to escape the current situation first, so he immediately started working on creating a rift behind him as he sailed into the arms of the warlord. The rift opened behind him just in time, as he was well within reach of the warlord, and the bolts had gone close enough that he could feel the heat. He passed through the rift with staggering speed and smacked into a boulder. He blasted a wave of fire into the rift, in the hope that it would destroy the energy bolts as he closed the rift.